Okay, Chairman Yates.
Yes. Here.
Vice Chair Mercer.
Here.
Board Member Dantzler.
Here.
Board Member Birdsong.
Here.
Board Member Threkel.
Here.
Board Member Dollison. We have a quorum.
Thank you. Now we'll move on to the approval of minutes. We have the April 24th, 2023 and May 22nd, 2023 CRA Board minutes. So,
Chair, motion to approve both sets of minutes.
motion's been approved. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Motion's been made and seconded. Is there any other discussion on the minutes?
Mr. Chairman, my name is misspelled on all of these documents, and at some point, they need to drop the D on the end of my name.
My apologies, that was corrected, and in the official minutes that you have for signature, it was corrected.
So, Circle, that has been corrected going forward
Thank you.
and on the current minutes. Any comments from the audience on the minutes? Seeing none.
All in favor?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? Motion carries. On to our action items. Item 4A.
Yes, sir. Chairman and board members, the first item before you is an interlocal agreement between the City of Winter Haven and the Winter Haven Community Redevelopment Agency. As you know, funds from the incremental increase in ad valorem taxes collected since the creation of the CRA are used in part for capital projects such as infrastructure improvements, streetscapes, recreation and park improvements, economic development, transportation. Oh, let me advance the slide here, I'm sorry. That's okay, no worries. Transportation and neighborhood enhancements. Over the years, the city has issued debt from the general fund to fund major infrastructure projects. As the issuance of debt is a prudent and flexible form of capital financing, the city takes a conservative approach to bond issuance and the refunding of bonds. The issuance of bond series 2015, series 2021, and series 2021 B and C provided funding to projects located in the downtown CRA. These projects include the purchase of a building for a parking garage, congestion management, rails to trails, South Central Park, trailhead splash pad, skate park, and a future parking garage location to be determined. As such, the downtown CRA provides a transfer to the general fund to pay a portion of the project funding. To enhance transparency and document the use of resources, an interlocal agreement is established to memorize this understanding. Staff recommends the CRA Board approve the interlocal agreement between the City of Winter Haven and the Winter Haven Community Redevelopment Agency. I'll stand for any questions you may have.
Any questions on this item?
Chairman Yates, if I could offer just a further comment on this, if that would be appropriate.
Please.
For the record, T. Michael Staver, City Manager. So the CRA historically has done a transfer into the general fund for this very purpose. This really details out what that involves and what the projects are, so that if there's ever a look back on it, why was there a transfer made? It's very specific to the capital projects that occur within the downtown CRA. If we had similar projects within the Florence Villa CRA, we would do it. That would also be factored into the interlocal agreement. It is likely you will have one of these every year going forward as that budget for the CRA is developed. So it's really intended to provide an additional layer of transparency and accountability in how we operate.
And nothing, like you say, nothing new here is happening. It's just again, being more transparent
Exactly.
on the items. And
it's the exact same thing that we have done as far back as I'm aware of, and it just in further details what those projects are, so that it's very clear. And the funding specific to those projects is also called out and accounted for within the Finance Department.
thank you. Any other questions? Is there a motion?
I make a motion to approve the interlocal agreement between the City of Winter Haven and the Winter Haven Community Redevelopment Agency.
Motion's been made. Second?
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Is there any other discussion on this item? Is there any discussion or comments from the audience? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. All right, on to action item 4B.
Yes, sir. Fiscal year 2022, 2023 unallocated fund balance expenditures. On July 10th, 2023, the Downtown CRA Advisory Committee met and recommended approval of their fiscal year 23-24 budget to the CRA Board. The draft budget as presented to the CRA Advisory Committee contemplated the expenditure of currently unallocated funds for 3 items totaling $89,712.08. Those items include parking garage camera upgrades in the amount of $30,712.08, the downtown CRA staff vehicle, which is called a GEM, and I'll show you that vehicle in just a second, at $10,000. This would be a shared expense with Parks, Recreation, and Culture, and a wayfinding and zoned parking plan at $49,000. This is a look at the parking garage cameras. The current cameras in the garage are over 10 years old. And so these would, this is funds for up to 14 new cameras. These are the same cameras that we use in all of our public facilities, I believe. T. Michael, is that correct?
Yeah, this is the Verkada system that we use in a lot of our new facilities. It's a very high-tech system that allows us to store that data. We can actually scan that data, video data, if we're looking for a specific individual. You can actually have the computer go through and find that individual, and it will pick them up on additional frames. So when we're dealing with mischievous activities or things like lost children, things like that, it's highly effective, and it's accessible to all of our staff that have appropriate clearance via a web-based platform.
Quick question, Eric. Does anybody monitor these cameras, or is it always after a crime has been committed, they use it to go solve the crime? Or does anybody, like at the police department, that sort of has a big bank of TVs, or kind of watching mischief going on while it's going on? Or is it not that type of a situation?
I'll answer that and tell you that the city manager's office at times pulls up the cameras just to see what's happening within our facilities, but there's not a permanent monitoring of it other than staff within those spaces. For example, if you were to go to the field house, there will be a camera behind, or a screen behind the desk that allows them to monitor the various areas of the building, what's happening in the gymnasium and in the upper areas. But it's mainly staff that are on site, and then beyond that, if we know that something's happening or we get a call of a report or something, we can pull it up right then.
Do you have motion detecting lights that turn on? I'm thinking about in certain areas of the garage, if somebody's walking through there, it automatically turn a light on them. That seems to.
I think the lighting within the garage is always on.
Yeah, but there's just something about having a light that shines on you when you are up to something, or if you're walking through and you're not up to something.
I don't believe that we have anything in there at present time. Certainly something we could explore with the police department from a safety perspective.
It may be something to consider on some of these areas that we have where we don't really actually monitor it, but if we can just scare people off and make them go somewhere else to, create vandalism instead of in our parking garages. Or I'm just thinking, it works at my house. I have those motion detectors go off all the time, and it scares away animals or whatever's creating a problem.
To the extent that we have any security devices or that kind of stuff, we probably would talk about it outside of a public meeting. Those types of things are actually exempt from, the public view, if you will. It's one of the few things that you can have discussion about or conversation about. It's specific to security features or facets for a public building. So great ideas, but if we do implement anything, it'd probably be not something we would broadcast.
Okay.
That you would know about it, but it wouldn't be something we'd discuss, probably.
So there's 27 cameras in the garage now,
Yes, this would replace up to 14 of them.
and so we wouldn't be adding any potential new ones. This is just, I guess.
My knowledge is just a replacement, is that correct? Yes.
And the 14 that could be replaced actually need to be replaced?
It's my understanding from IT. They're old cameras, and there's just much better quality.
I just wasn't sure if you got an extra camera now, maybe put it here or there rather than just toss it. Something's better than nothing. And my other question on the security cameras was kind of along the lines of the mayor's question. Our officer that works downtown, does he have access? That'll stream right to his car so he can flip over and see what's going on?
I can pull it up on my cell phone right now. So it's an account that we have access to. Actually, can pull up all of our facilities depending on what the need is. I will say that the camera systems that we have, the original ones from when that building was built, the pan and the zoom and just the quality of them, as Mr. Labby said, the technology evolves daily, it seems, on this stuff, so.
Thanks.
Okay, so as the downtown CRA endeavors to budget for and complete more capital projects, as we are all aware of, CRA staff is in need of a vehicle, as they're often required to meet on site, out in the field with property and business owners and contractors and perform site visits. This is the GEM electric vehicle. It's a 4-passenger electric vehicle that is street legal on streets up to 35 miles per hour. It's a cost-effective alternative to a traditional vehicle and effective for travel within the CRA district. As mentioned, this would be a cost share with Parks, Recreation, and Culture, as their staff will share the vehicle with Angie, our downtown CRA project manager. And then finally, the last item is a wayfinding and zoned parking plan. This is one of the recommendations from the parking study, to develop a wayfinding signage package and also explore the idea of zoned parking within downtown as we evolve our methodology for providing adequate public parking within our downtown area. So this is a proposal from Walker Consultants, who did our parking plan. They have a division within their organization that does signage and wayfinding, as well as parking studies. This is a proposal for $49,000. As mentioned, the Downtown CRA Advisory Committee did meet. They met again on their August 7th, 2023 meeting and recommended approval of expenditure of this unallocated fund balance for these 3 items, and staff does recommend that the CRA Board approve the fiscal year 2022-23 unallocated fund balance expenditures and authorize the city manager or his designee to take all other necessary actions thereto. We'll stand for any questions.
Tracy?
Do you have a plan, or have they got a plan yet for the signs and things that are going to be displayed?
Are you talking about the gateway signs that we had
Yes.
fabricated with an agreement with Main Street? Yes, that is in the next item. We have budgeted for the installation of those signs. Yes, ma'am.
Can I ask a quick question? Can I go back, Eric, to the cars things? The electric vehicle. So Parks and Rec is going to own half and Main Street will own half or something? Where's it going to be kept? And it's going to be like downtown mainly, running around, dragging people to bars, restaurants, whatever?
I'll let Angie speak to that.
And Angie will use it for events kind of a deal, or what? Like a golf cart, sort of?
It's a little larger than a golf cart. So we've done a lot of measurements and looking, and it can come up the ramp in the back of Nora Mayo and either come inside the back hallway to be stored, or if there's an event, then it can be stored on the platform in the back. It plugs into just a normal 110 to charge the vehicle. And yes, Natalie Wilson for special events, things like the parade, MLK events, all of those kind of things, we would be able to use it. Her demands to need it are more in the evening and weekends, and my demands would be more during the day. So each charge, it can go up to, I think it was 85 miles per charge. So it's a vehicle that can be run for almost an entire day and still hold the charge.
Clearly, it's street legal, right? It's got lights and all that stuff.
It is.
But it's going to be parked at Nora Mayo, is that what I heard you say? Okay. And then Main Street can come and get it whenever they need it, and
No, not Main Street.
CRA.
Parks and Rec, Natalie Wilson with special events, and then Andy and I, and if Eric needed it
okay,
too.
for some reason I had Main Street was doing part of this, but I guess I was wrong, so.
Mr. Mayor, you know, Angie's role with that, when you're going to check on projects and meet with contractors or vendors in the field, or merchants for that matter, a little more compatible for that, in and out quickly and not taking up a lot of space. And then when we're doing special events, Natalie and the other members of Parks and Recreation that are working events, a lot of times they're running back and forth to different facilities here in the downtown to get cones, to get materials and resources. And so it will add a resource for them.
How fast does it go?
Top speed is 25 miles an hour, even though it can be street legal up to 35-mile-an-hour zones. So we can get almost anywhere between us, Florence Villa, downtown, Rotary Park, all of that, Lake Maud.
Okay. I'm happy with it. I'm just trying to understand. It's like a big souped-up golf cart, basically.
I bet we can go faster than 25, though.
I'm sure. Yeah.
Was there a trailer hitch on this?
There is an option after one of the, when we evaluated it really more from the events perspective, it can't pull like a boat or like a big trailer, but there is a large storage on the backside of the big storage chest that a lot of different things could go into. After we evaluate the need, there is a potential to put a trailer hitch on it, which could possibly pull like a small trailer, or even put like a cargo. I'm trying to remember like a cargo thing that you would see on the back of a car. To put additional coolers or other materials on.
I was thinking just move it.
Pull a light tower, if we needed to move a light tower during an event. The July, and we're moving all that stuff around regularly. It's less damage and wear and tear on the turf and everything that's down there doing it with this than it is a, F-250 or something.
I bet to wager within the first 3 months, you'll say, I wish we had a hitch on here. And you'll be adding it. Is it cheaper to go ahead and add it before you buy it, or?
Not necessarily because it's aftermarket, so that's something we can evaluate and easily do.
5 minutes.
Oh, yeah, we got people to do that, I guess.
I could see this being used in the parades, MLK parade, Winter Haven High School parade. This would be,
We'll see how fast it goes with 4 people in it.
I was gonna say, that
Depends on the 4 people.
Just give us adequate a notice so we can make sure it's charged.
Anything else on this item, Eric?
No, sir.
All right, is there a motion on this item?
I'll make a motion.
Motion to approve has been made. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any further discussion on this item? Any discussion from the audience? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, like sign, motion carries. All right, item 4C.
All right, Resolution R, CRA 2302. This is the CRA budget for fiscal year 23-24. Every year, the Winter Haven Community Redevelopment Agency is required to adopt a budget for its operation. In the budget are funds set aside for personnel, operating expenses, capital projects, economic development and TIF rebates, transfer to the general and dark fiber funds, grant and aid, and non-departmental expenses. Based on the current millage rate, the downtown district is anticipated to collect $3,209,855 in ad valorem revenue, with interest and parking space rental. Total projected revenue is $3,274,055. Personnel expenses, including salary and benefits, total $148,344. That is for the CRA manager and the CRA project manager, Angie's position, and a small portion of my salary. Operating expenses total $481,200 and include the following in the operating budget. Avenue C Southwest and 5th Street pedestrian study design. As we see more redevelopment in the southwest side of downtown, we want to explore the pedestrian access at that particular intersection and come up with a design for safe pedestrian crossing. at that intersection. The 3rd Street, Magnolia Avenue, Avenue B, and 2nd Street design. This is a continuation of some design work that we started last fiscal year at the Magnolia intersection and also the previous fiscal year along 2nd Street in downtown. And as we've done some preliminary design work and have, I think, 30% plans on 2nd Street and 60% on Magnolia, we recognize a lot of private sector investment going in that particular area as well, and the need to coordinate with the private sector on those. And then understanding how all of those streets, one of them being a one-way, all interact together with all of this private development. And so what we've done is continued and rolled over the remaining funding from the previous fiscal years into this proposed fiscal year 23-24 budget to look at that whole intersection and that whole triangle area, essentially, of downtown holistically, to come up with the best solution in partnership with the private sector for those particular intersections and corridors. The design for the Bowen Yard Pond project, this is the FDOT pond that is over by where Bowen Yard and Sochi Market is. This is a design to provide pedestrian facilities and lighting around that FDOT pond, as well as landscaping. We are applying for an FDOT grant that I think is due in a couple of days, actually.
It's on the agenda for the 12th.
There you go. And that is a grant from FDOT to provide landscaping in that pond. And so we have budgeted, the downtown CRA has budgeted for the design of that project. Inspection, maintenance, and utilities for the parking garage, as is normal, sidewalk materials, and then your normal office and travel supplies for conferences for CRA staff. The capital project expenses total $3,213,543. The projects are outlined in your fact sheet. They include the bulk of the Sidewalk Cafe Joyce B. Davis construction cost, additional sidewalk cafes or potential new cafes. The downtown CRA wanted some money in there in case there was a new opportunity that came about. Avenue C Southwest lighting. This is improved lighting along that new complete street corridor, Avenue C. Some actual money for the construction yard, the Bowen Yard pond improvement. So this would be the construction after design. The installation of the wayfinding signage. You just approved the expenditure of unallocated funds from this current fiscal year to engage in the wayfinding plan with Walker Consultants. This is the money to fabricate and install those signs. I'm sorry. Nope, that's not Main Streets. That would be our wayfinding signage. Yep. A little bit of money if we can get through the design on that triangle, corridor that we were talking about earlier, to begin construction on that. Tico substation improvements on 2nd Street. This is an opportunity that came about that the downtown CRA wanted to participate in. This is to construct a wall and do landscaping around the Tico substation that is on 2nd Street. Tico will fund this with 2/3, and the downtown CRA would fund 1/3. So it's a $225,000 project. The downtown CRA would contribute $75,000 to that project. The gateway signage that Commissioner Mercer asked about, we have budgeted for the installation of those signs that we had fabricated a couple of years ago, and various park and right-of-way renovations. Line item 8225, economic development, is the line item where we budget for our TIF rebates and our agreements that we have entered into with various developers within the downtown district to receive those rebates. And also in there is the projected fiscal year 24 year-end cash balance. According to Florida statutes, chapter 163-387, we must budget all of our anticipated funds. And so that end-of-year cash balance is in that economic development line item, provides the greatest amount of flexibility to the CRA to use those funds should a future economic development project, come about. The non-department expenses, those are your auditing fees, transfers to the general fund, dark fiber fund, administration, insurance, internal service charges, grant and aid to the Ritz Theater and Main Street, Winter Haven, and CRA reimbursement programs are budgeted for to the tune of $1,512,826. Those are broken down in your fact sheet. Our normal amounts for the Ritz Theater and Main Street, Winter Haven, in $40,000 and $45,000 are budgeted, including the continuation of the sidewalk cafe furniture grants, commercial facade grants, residential improvement grants, alleyway improvement grants, and a new program, the camera and security program. The downtown CRA will be working to develop exactly how that program will work, and we will present that to the CRA Board for their approval, but it's a concept where the CRA would participate with the private sector to provide security cameras at the exterior of their businesses, should they wish to participate.
So, can I ask a question before you move on? Did you were going to say something?
I had a question, but go ahead.
So, the Ritz Theater and Main Street, we moved them out of the preferred partners and put them on the CRA, so that's where they're getting their money now?
They, Mr. Mayor and members of the board, there is money that is within the grant and aid program for both of those in lesser amounts. Actually, I think I'll verify this for you, but I believe the Ritz Theater, they are at $40,000 in the grant and aid, and I think Main Street is at $15,000 in the grant and aid.
So theoretically, we're supporting the Ritz to the tune of $80,000 a year?
I believe that's correct. I will verify that.
Brian's shaking his head no.
I don't think that's right. I think their request was only 40,000 this year. I thought we were specifically pulling that out of the CRA versus being in the grant and aid.
I will work to pull that up from the past agenda while you continue your discussion.
And my next question is, Eric, can you give me an example of the commercial facade grants where I would see something and know it went to pay for that, just so I can have an understanding of kind of what that really means?
Haven Coffee, what was the little one that was just done this, Hot Shots, is an example. There was one on 5th Street, it was a little facade grant. Let's see, Honeycomb Bakery.
It's the awnings and
It's,
stuff?
yes,
It goes out the front? Okay.
yes, it's anything on the exterior of the building, so windows, doors, porches, painting.
And it has to be in the CRA
Yes, sir.
to get the funding, okay.
Yes, sir. Main,
To go back to the question on the Ritz Theater, this is from a June City Commission meeting. The historic Ritz Theater was funded at $40,000 from the grant and aid, which was equivalent to the amount funded in 22-23, 21-22, likewise.
So they're getting 40 from CRA and 40 from the
40 from the grant and aid of the general fund.
80,000.
In Main Street, let me see if I have that, I'll find them. I think theirs is 15,000 is what they get. I think it's 10,000. Is there, Eric, do you recall, is there City Works money in the CRA, or is that in the general fund? Do you remember?
I want to say general fund, but I'm not 100%.
I remember that being
There is
one of
5,000 for City Works, and then there's an additional 10,000.
the- Okay.
I mean, during COVID, the way I remember it is in the Ritz, we did 80,000 and we split that. We did 40 and 40. And it just seems like, because they're only expecting 40,000 this year.
They have, it's the same amount that was funded last year, 40,000 from the general fund, 40,000 from the CRA.
Okay.
Okay, the Florence Villa District. Based on today's millage rate, the Florence Villa District is anticipated to collect $1,107,287 in ad valorem revenue. With interest, that total is $1,122,287. Personnel expenses include salary and benefits. That totals $104,659. That is CRA manager, Florenceville CRA coordinator, and a small portion of my salary. Operating expenses total $407,400, and they include professional services for anticipated legal and title fees associated with land acquisition. You can see in the capital projects expenses, we have budgeted for property acquisition. Contract services for businesses and housing development programs. This was something the Florenceville CRA Advisory Committee was very interested in contracting for some services along business development and housing development programs. I've already been speaking with a couple of folks that do that work. In fact, one gave a presentation to the advisory committee, and so we're formulating what that would look like for the Florenceville district. Sidewalk materials and your normal travel and office supplies. Capital project expenses, I have in the fact sheet total $987,043. There was a slight adjustment to the budget materials just after this was published. It's actually $974,396, and that includes $500,000 for property acquisition, $150,000 for improvements, pedestrian improvements and traffic calming at the Lake Maud Avenue O Northeast area. That is in conjunction with the second phase of the Lake Maud project. Residential infill new construction. So this is the construction of a new home on a vacant lot within Florenceville, and the remaining funds for a future project. Like I said before, we have to budget for all of our funds according to Florida statutes, chapter 163, and so that's where that is housed for a future project. Non-departmental expenses include the audit fees, transfers to the 2015 construction fund and dark fiber fund, administration, insurance, internal service charges, and grant and aid. That totals $700,918. Grant and aid and reimbursement programs funded are the commercial facade grant program, residential improvement grant program, and demolitions. I would add the residential improvement grant program in Florenceville has been very popular. A number of homeowners within Florenceville have applied for, received approval, and have made improvements to their homes through this program. It's been really quite successful. Both the downtown and the Florenceville CRA advisory committees met downtown on July 10th, Florenceville on July 17th, and unanimously recommended approval of this budget to the CRA Board. Staff's recommendation is that the CRA Board approve Resolution RCRA 2302, which adopts the fiscal year 23-24 proposed budget. And we'll stand for any questions you may have.
Mr. Chair, if I could just add a point of clarification on one thing. Main Street, Winter Haven, funded in the CRA at $45,000. They are funded within the grant and aid community partner aspect at $15,000. That's a total of $60,000 that goes to Main Street, Winter Haven. In addition to that, the grant and aid program provides the $5,000 sponsorship for City Works.
And you're fairly certain it's $80,000 that the Ritz is getting?
The Ritz was approved on June 12th in that action taken by the City Commission for $40,000 in grant and aid. And there is $40,000 in your CRA budget for them as well, which is the equivalent amount of the past 2 years it was funded to them.
Which I guess when we were voting on that, I thought it was just the 40,000. I didn't know the CRA was gonna follow up with another 40,000.
At the time that you voted on that, the CRA had not met.
Right.
And so that was a consideration for the downtown CRA to make in their June 10th meeting,
Where
or
that
July
came
10th.
from, Brian, back before you were on the commission, we voted to put all of Main Street and the Ritz on the CRA and off the,
That was my first year, yeah.
or maybe, okay,
Yeah.
you were part of that, okay.
Yeah.
I thought those were former commissioners, but they wanted to move that to strictly to the CRA budget, but not, doesn't seem like so.
Well, if it passes, they're gonna be elated, because I know they're only expecting 40,000.
Well, they're getting 55,000
Right,
from the Arts Council too.
right. I just need to, I think, relook at these things next year, because it just feels like this one just got carried over from previous years. And I mean, it's fine. I mean, they're serving a purpose, and they're serving a purpose within the CRA. I just, $80,000 is a lot for one entity year after year after year. It's my only thought. So, I had one question. So we had talked about with the sidewalk cafe projects, potentially running electrical conduit while that construction was taking place to allow fans to be plugged in potentially. And now we're potentially talking about cameras. So I just thought, boom, there's another benefit of having electrical conduit there, that you could mount a camera on top of a cafe shooting down east and another one going west, and you'd have cameras on Central Avenue that way. Just a thought.
I'll let Andy and Angie respond to the electricity piece of it, but I will share with you that we have cameras at the present time at the intersection of 3rd Street and Central Avenue that shoot north, south, east, west to capture, activity within the roadways, and also within South Central Park.
Just in regards to the electrical conduit, there are electrical outlets that will be established on the existing light poles, but there are not in the project to actually establish actual outlets. And the challenge with that is that each frontage can change, and when you actually look at that, then it's how is that metered? Is that is the city giving the electricity, or is the patron of the lease area paying that? And what we've actually found in quite a few places, even in Lakeland, for example, at 1961 in Lakeland, they actually have fans on the building side, which seem quite sufficient to get the cafe. And these cafe zones can also be set up in a fashion that the cafes and the tables are actually on the building side, and then the walkway zone is towards where the street side. So you can have a mix, and then the fans could actually also be on the actual building side. One of the things that we also looked at last week, and we were just spitballing with the Arabella's owner, that on their awning potentially that comes out over the sidewalk, there's the possibility to potentially put some fans on awnings, and that may get that area as well, and that would come off of the building. So while we're not able to give an outlet, a dedicated outlet to each frontage of we are working and trying to brainstorm with the cafe owners on how they can still achieve that.
Okay. Eric, anything else?
No, sir.
All right, so we have the 2023-2024 CRA budget.
Would you like me to read the title of that resolution, Chair?
Have I not called on you all night?
No, you haven't.
That is my
I
apology.
was just waiting for you.
Go for it.
Are you ready? Thank you. Resolution RCRA-2302, a resolution of the Community Redevelopment Agency of the City of Winter Haven, Florida, adopting a budget for fiscal year 2023-2024 and providing an effective date. Thank you.
All right, with that, is there a motion on this item?
I'll make a motion.
Motion's been made to, what was your motion? To approve it or decline?
To approve.
Okay, approve it, just checking. Motion
You're
was,
hoping I decline it?
motion was made to approve the 2023-2024 CRA budget. Is there a second? Second. Motion's been made and there's a second. Is there any comments from the audience on this item? Seeing none, all those in favor of the 2023-2024 CRA budget, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Moving on to the downtown CRA and Florence Villa CRA Advisory Committee minutes, which Sean, do I need to read out each one of these items, or?
For information.
No, sir, it's just for information
Okay,
only.
all right.
Just proving to you that we've caught up on our minutes.
Okay, so we're all caught up on the minutes now. We're all legal now. Okay, well, with that, comments from the board? Seeing none, is there any comments from the staff?
Only that your September meeting traditionally was the meeting that we adopted the budget and considered it. We just did that tonight. Would you like to cancel your September meeting? I don't see any business to be had on that day.
If there's no business, there's no reason to have a meeting. So, do we need a motion on that?
Can't hurt.
So moved. Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Andy, the only other item I have is Andy and Angie do have a very short presentation. If you would like to hear it, we are about 15 minutes before the city commission meeting on current projects.
Yes.
So I'll update you guys real quick on just the couple ones that are the most active. This is Joyce Davis Park. The picture on the top right was taken this morning. You can see the plaza has now been formed. Pavers are due to come this week, depending on rain and all of that. They're making great progress. We're moving straight ahead. Sidewalks have been torn up on either side of Fifth Street, and the pavers will go down with that shortly after. So making fabulous progress there. Sidewalk cafes, the picture that you see on the right was taken Friday afternoon. You can see the barrels were up. They have been secured for the storm. Joyce Davis Park will be secured as well. Trees have been removed, and they're working on restoring the pavers there along the sidewalk. Doing the best we can to keep the sidewalk as far open as possible for as often as possible, minimum of 4 feet, but they are working with each of the businesses if they have to come back just a little bit and trying to keep it very open and cleaned up on the weekends. The bottom picture is, and kind of in the center, is an artist rendering that was done along with the plans for the project. And then
And, sorry, quick question.
You're fine, you're
So
fine.
the umbrellas, will those all be the same color? I mean, will we,
No, what we've talked with many of the businesses is they want to be able to delineate, this is my space, so that it's easier for patrons to know where to sit, because we're not doing rails between, so if they don't want to do planters, their furniture and their umbrellas or shade structures could look slightly different on each location.
they wouldn't do that gator orange down Central Avenue,
The
would they?
next one would be blue, so we'd have a little orange and blue down there.
We have an ordinance coming before the city commission, I believe, to outlaw blue and orange is a
Perfect.
combination in the city of Winter Haven.
Oh, no.
Sign it as to form. So you can do it if you want to.
EOA, just drop it.
And then the FDOT pond is the one, we are working on a name for this future park. It is down, you can see right where Bowen Yard and Sochi, there along the little yellow dot beside the pond. The concept is underway, they're working fervently on getting that done. The pre-application we have to send in to DOT to get an approval by the end of August. So that one will go in this week. They've looked it over, they like the idea, they love the concept that has been verbally proposed to them. The previous grant was $100,000. They have increased this year, fortunately for us, to $200,000, and there's no match required. However, we do have money in next year's budget for that. So intent is to make it more pedestrian-friendly, increase the lighting, a little bit of additional landscaping, and then as part of the grant, we would need to take over the maintenance of that pond. And those are the most active projects to update you guys on.
Thank you. Any questions on those projects?
If I could just quickly add too, on the downtown, Main Street's actually has been very instrumental in helping us develop some additional signage that should go up pending the storm, with arrows and business names as we close the roads for the actual cafe construction that says, for example, fire this way, and on the corner. So we're trying to make that as pedestrian and really put some of those wayfinding signs out there while the construction's going on.
Gotcha. And sure,
And Angie's talking to them just about every day as well,
okay.
keeping them updated.
And I should have said this earlier, but Angie, you did a great job on News Channel 8, the interview. Statewide, going national is what I've heard.
She's also on Telemundo, just so you know. On Friday, they came to town, so she's getting an agent.
International, I like that. Great job. All right, with that, is there any comments from the audience for the CRA? Seeing none, we'll need a motion to adjourn. Motion's been made, and I heard another. All those in favor? Aye. Motion carries.